as bad as it was, and I don't wish it had happened, but if what I went through can help me help others, well, there's good that come from even the bad things. I didn't have an idea of what a healthy relationship was. My father was an alcoholic. I always felt like a disappointment. I was always told I was not smart. Before they would explain anything to me, they would make me say, I'm stupid, I will never understand it. And I didn't realize how much harm that was doing to me at the time, but it was. I met him in high school. He was funny, he made me laugh, and he made me feel important. There were instances during our dating time that I had concerns, and I would mention them to my sisters and they would brush them off. Or I would mention them to my mom and she would brush it off too. In those days, early years of marriage, he never physically assaulted me with his hands, but he would do things that were violent, the little control things. I had been removed from my family. I had been taken to another country. I couldn't travel back home because I didn't have papers. I was the perfect victim. I had low self-esteem through years of being told I wasn't worth it. I respected authority. I wanted to please. I was very isolated and I couldn't call home often because it was too expensive. God forbid that I spend money. And he was in control of the money and he was in control of everything. And what I've learned over the years and what I discovered is that we talk about domestic violence, but we don't realize that violence is just the extreme expression of abuse. There's many types of abuse. I never thought I was an abused woman. To me, an abused woman was a battered woman who's ignorant, mostly poor, who has a husband who comes drunk every night and beats her up and leaves her on the floor in the corner of a house. That was the image of an abused woman for me. I never thought that somebody who had gone to college would put up with abuse. That was me. The thing is that you don't recognize it when it starts happening to you. Because if you see one little incident, it's not a big deal. If you isolate each incident, it's something that has happened to anybody in the world. But when you accumulate them and see the intent or see the effect and see the perseverance of them, that's when you see that there's a pattern of abuse. He had lost the fear of physically injuring me. And that's what happens. You don't expect it to escalate, but it does. It does. It does. And what started as, I don't like how you look. I don't value your freedom. I control your money. I will denigrate you when I want. I will use you for income. I would use you in whatever aspect. What had been done is, me as a person, I was no longer worthy. I was just an instrument, and doesn't matter who is doing the abuse, whether it is a spouse, whether it is a family member sexually abusing somebody, whether it is a trafficker who's selling a girl. What is at the core of abuse is the removal of that person's dignity, is when that person is seen as an object, as a source of something of pleasure, of a punching bag for frustration, as a tool for winning a political thing. When you deprive that person of their God-given dignity, you're abusing them. I have been told that I shouldn't have left my husband because he was not beating me up that often and not hard enough. What is hard enough? A bruise? A scar that you have for life? How often is often enough to be considered abuse? What made me leave was my daughter. She didn't want to see that anymore. She didn't want to experience what she was experiencing. She told me, "Mom, Dad is going to end up in jail, and you will be either killed or handicapped and will not be able to take care of me. I'm going to end up in foster care. I don't want this anymore. I don't want my dad abusing you anymore. He is going to kill you." A light went up in my head and said, what you've been fearing, that you were abused, is being confirmed, and God sometimes talks to you through the innocence of children. That night, my daughter and I, we just cried. I held her tight. I just held her. But we were safe. We knew it was the beginning of a new life. Children of abused suffer so much, and they are true victims themselves. They don't need to be punched. They know what it is. They've seen it, they heard it. Once I left, I worked on myself. I didn't just let things okay, I left, poor me, and be just, weepy. No, God has given me strength to work on myself. I have taken a lot of time in working on me getting better. And that requires effort, and that requires resilience too. I had put myself as a priority because I deserve it. I deserve to become the child of God that God made me. I deserve that. My story is not relevant per se, but I think the message is, I am Jose and I have a voice.